I just wanted to make a little precursor to this video saying I apologize for the audio for the first 5-10 minutes. It could be pretty trashy, so just bear with me, please. Thank you. Enjoy the video. Do you just want to introduce yourself? Who you are?
Yeah, sure. My name is Gil, also known as OCC Coolboy, also known as O Coolboy, OCC Natsuki. There's so many names, but yeah. Hi.
Cool. Do you stream?
Yes, I do. I stream as Coolboy underscore NY.
Very cool. Gotta stream for that epilepsy awareness.
Ah, exactly.
And I guess I'll just kick it off with what are your triggers for your seizures?
So ironically, what I would hear before my seizures is that I would hear a sequence of sound, and every time I heard that sequence of sound, I'd be like, "Oh no, I'm about to have I'm about to have an episode." And I would have like a couple seconds to like react. And for me, what I would try to do is I would try to find like, someone I know or someone that like, I know or, clearly know and try to tell them before it happens.
Mm,
But sadly, sometimes, during that time I would have it immediately. So,
jeez,
yeah.
that's so fun. So, I think you mentioned stress is a trigger, anxiety. Is sleep a big one for you?
So, I wouldn't say so, honestly. Am I really bad with sleeping? Yes, I am. My sleep schedule sucks. I take melatonin. That's how bad it is.
Oh, jeez.
But no, I know my seizures were more like anxiety induced seizures. So I would say it was like more of that.
Hmm. Interesting. Honestly, most epileptics I talk to, they're like, "Yeah, it's always the sleep." I'm like, "Wow,
I mean, it could be anything. Like I know it could range from like from sleep. It could range from even heat too. Like
yeah."
there are a couple of people I know that if it was a heat wave or something like that, they would be having like like so many episodes.
I had a seizure playing hockey once. Yeah, it was like I was sweating my ass off, and I just had a seizure standing up. I just rolled into the corner. I was like, "Oh crap!" I was lucky I didn't have the ball at the time. It was ro- uh inline hockey, so it wasn't ice hockey. Would have been a rough fall.
Yeah, I used to play. What was it? I used to play soccer. I still do, but like like recreational.
Mm.
But I used to like play like team soccer, and I remember it was our final game, and right before the game even started, I actually had an episode.
Nice epilepsy.
Yeah,
The
and
timing.
I really wanted to play the game so bad, but I couldn't because the coach wasn't gonna let me play right after an episode.
Big fame, let me in there.
That was me. I was literally like like put me in, coach. Like I'm ready to go. I'm fine. I'm good to go. But no.
That sucks.
Yeah, it really did, and it was my final game of the season. So,
Oh yeah. I don't think I asked you this one. Do your seizures hurt?
what's actually crazy? They didn't, but it I, they gave me like sometimes like it gives you like weird sensations.
Yeah.
It My seizures would typically give me like that weird sensation, and it's even so tough to explain because like you know it's been a long time since I've actually had one. Um But I would never feel, pain unless if, I let's say if I was at a bad place at a bad time while having a seizure, but in general, I wouldn't say that they've given me pain.
Hmm. And I'm gonna run back over the ones I think we already went down. Um, how often do you have them, and how often did you used to have them?
So, as of today, I've been 6-year seizure free. Uh, but before that, um, when I was like just diagnosed with epilepsy when I was 13, I would have like literally like 10 seizures a day. Uh, and then after, after being given meds, then it went down to like 1 to 2 seizures a month.
Oh, medicine works.
Yeah, it's a whole what was it? Like obviously we didn't know what I had at the very beginning, which is why it was like 10, like almost like 10 a day. But once we found, like the proper treatment and the diagnosis, then that's when, you know, it went like all the way down to like, pretty much like 2 a month, which isn't bad.
So you just said like you were diagnosed at 13. So I was gonna ask you, when did your seizures begin? Obviously 13. Uh, was it like trauma induced, or was it just like dysplasia, like a misgrowth of cells?
Honestly, I don't really know for sure. I just know that my seizures just like happened out of nowhere. Like, for me, for a person having a very healthy brain and having seizures coming out of nowhere, we had no clue what was going on. We didn't know if it was like, genetics. We didn't know if it was there was the whole thing of like when people are going through their going through shoot, what it's called.
Like puberty?
Puberty, yeah, puberty. I know, you can get seizures through puberty.
Yeah, I've heard of that.
It's so there were so many different things that we were trying to figure out. And while we were trying to figure out like how to, lower the amount of seizures I had, we were also trying to figure out what was causing these seizures.
Hmm. That's a new one.
Yeah. It's a whole it was a whole, my case was very complex.
And you said you have focal seizures, and I was gonna say, what are your seizures like? Like, if you had to describe them, how would you describe yourself having a seizure?
So pretty much, what would happen is, I would hear like a specific tone of sound, have a certain amount of time to react and like try to tell someone, hey, I'm about to have an episode. But right when that seizure starts, that's when my body freezes. I can't move my body at all. It's kind of like uh when you're daydreaming. Honestly, like my seizures would be like as if I would look like I'm daydreaming to others, but I'm not. I'm actually having a seizure. But, while my body's frozen, like, I could, like, move my eyes around so I could see around my surroundings, but I just couldn't move my body.
So would your whole body would like tense up?
Basically, yeah.
Oh, and it's like focal slash absence seizure, essentially.
Pretty much, yeah. It
That's
it was it was very again, very complex.
this is why these little chats are so interesting, because like I've never heard of that. This is crazy. Like, what was school like for you? I think I threw this one at you, but I didn't chat on it.
That which one you said? I'm sorry.
What was like your school life for you?
Honestly, I would say school life was very tough. Everything was going fine at the very beginning, but when I was diagnosed, it was people really didn't know what was going on with me. Um, there would even be times that like, I would be like away from school for like a couple weeks because I was hospitalized with my seizures. And when I would come back, people would be like, "We were wondering where you were. We thought you were dead." Like it would
Jeez.
like I would get a lot of those a lot. So
From high school.
yeah, especially oh my god, especially high school. Oh my god. But and like one thing I could say was that like even for some things there was a positive and negative. Like, for instance, for one story I have, uh, there was one time I was taking steroids as a treatment for my epilepsy to see if
Okay.
it would work. Um, the one thing negative about steroids is that, you know, you'll get mad,
Hmm.
as they call like roid rage. I got into a lot of fights at that time.
Nice.
I got into so many fights, they put me in school suspension. And the funny part is when I was there in school suspension, all the teachers be like, "Why are you here? You don't really come here. Why are you here?"
Road rage.
Be like, It's the rage."
Obviously, I don't know what kind of steroids you're on, but I've heard of like people being on like what is it like steroids for like Benadryl type stuff, like allergies, and that causes them to rage out.
Mhm.
It's like holy crap, like that little bit of steroids. Um, next question in the lineup. How do your seizures affect your mental status? Like your overall like mental health well-being slash whatever you want to go on about.
Yeah, I would honestly say that um I w- it's kind of funny because how I mentioned like my seizures were like anxiety induced.
Mm,
Um, let's kind of put a little bit of a timetable here. Um, you know, I would be very nervous all the time on when I would have my next episode. So if kind of thinking about it, like let's say I have an episode. After the episode, I would be nervous, like when is the next one gonna happen? And I just felt that like with this whole like cycle, it would like just circle around again and again and again and again. So like for my anxiety, like obviously triggering the seizures, like it would just be a lot, and I just didn't really feel like even with like with like anxiety like medication, it just didn't feel like it was helping at all.
jeez, yeah. I can totally see that scenario where you're just anxious that you don't want to have a seizure, and so you're triggering seizures. That's like oh, a little catch 22 there.
Yeah, it would be, and I kind of feel for people who, for me knowing that they also have like anxiety induced or like stress induced episodes, that it's something very it can be very tough. It honestly can.
Yeah, you have to like meditate on it. I've had like
Yeah.
those times where you're like, oh, I feel a little twitchy, and you just like look stare out the window into nothingness and just woosah. like,
Or just like when someone feels like very nervous on like whenever they're gonna have an episode at a certain time, that then it happens, and then they're just like, why did it have to happen now? Like it's very I would say when it comes with epilepsy, like not only is your brain doing its own thing, but your brain is playing with yourself, if you know what I mean.
yeah, it feels.
Yeah.
Um, so you had surgery. We talked about this, and I failed to record. Yeah, I wanted to ask, have you considered RNS or VNS? But so you had a surgery. What was that surgery called? And how'd that go for you?
So what I had was a craniotomy, and the craniotomy, that's basically when they open up your brain, they open up your skull, and then they take out a certain part of the brain. For some people, like, sometimes they take like a big chunk or, but for me it was like just a tiny piece, which they considered the source of my seizures. Um, so pretty much what happened was in 2016, I was running we were running out of medications to try. And it kind of came to me as a thought, like, I have two options here. I could either, you know, take the gamble, have the surgery, take the gamble and see what happens afterwards, or I could stay with the medications I'm on currently and still be having episodes. And, it kind of like there was a lot of pros and cons for both, but it came to came to the decision that I felt that I needed to have the surgery. And so, we went through the whole process. We tried out different tests to see, okay, like what would be the right thing to do. Because obviously, like, there was either like, craniotomy, there was a discussion of VNS, but it kind of got ruled out because having a VNS just wasn't the right what's that word? The right
With the right
I guess the right
move?
procedure.
Yeah.
And so obviously craniotomy was like the one that was like the go-to,
Hmm.
honestly.
You know,
And once the decision was made, you know, I had to get first we had to figure out exactly where uh we had to figure out exactly where my episodes were coming from, like the source. So obviously we had to do what was it? Man, what was the name of it again?
the mapping,
Yeah,
internal mapping
we had to do like the internal mapping, which was like using electro sensors with shock to figure out where my source was. And once that was figured out, took a couple months to come up with a game plan. And then after that game plan was made, then had the second surgery to what's that word, to take out the part of the brain. So
for a second. Yeah. I think they just call it like a resection now. Like, hey, we're gonna cut out chunky brain.
yeah,
But yeah, it's crazy. I've never been comfortable with that.
yeah, it's like for me, like kind of thinking of the well, while going through the whole process of like the tests to see if I was a candidate, it was, was there a lot of thoughts in my head? There was. I was thinking of like what could possibly go wrong,
Oh,
but
worst thing to
you know,
think about.
yeah. But I
Jeez.
had to like think to myself, like, stop thinking about that. Let's just focus on what the positives that are going to happen after this. And I felt that really helped a lot for me to continue on doing all these tests because for some of these tests, like they were the weirdest things I've ever done. Like, doing a test to, like having half of your brain fall asleep and,
Oh God, you
training
did
motor
that.
skills and stuff like that. Like, that's some weird shit.
I think it's called the
But
WADA test.
oh god, the water test. Oh my god, I hate that thing so much.
And you're awake during it. Oh,
You're waking in, it's so weird, like, and they had, like, that thing going up your you don't know how it's going from, like, from point A to point B, like, it's ugh.
I can't believe you had that done. Sorry.
Uh, no, there was no choice, I had to. I couldn't as much as I didn't wanna do that test, I had to do the water test.
Jeez.
But, but kind of thinking of, like, doing all those weird and painful tests to, get to where I am today, it's pretty surreal, honestly, so.
What were the other tests you had to undergo that were weird and painful?
Well, I know one of them was it was doing an MRI but with radioactive material. I forgot what it was called though.
The contrast.
Yeah, it was
Yeah.
like radioactive contrast. Um there was I had to do that, which it felt totally weird cuz like when that stuff is like going through your body, it like makes your body really warm.
Yeah, and you could taste like a metallic taste.
Yeah, the metallic
Very
taste.
strange.
Yeah. Fun fact, you can't be near a pregnant woman after that test. So,
No.
yeah, but that was like I'd say maybe one of the weirdest ones. The WADA, I think, was like the one I hated the most.
Oh,
WADA.
I was told not to look it up if I was gonna have it because they were about to do it and they didn't tell me if they were or weren't, and they decided not to because they had enough information. And I was like, oh, thank God.
Oh no, I had no choice. It was either the WADA or that's it. Like it was, I had no choice. And it's even more weirder when you're awake and you see like when you see to the side the monitor on like how they're bringing that little thing like up your whole body. It's even more weird.
Oh, jeez. I'd be like, blindfold me? Nope. Nope.
No, it's kind of like when I think of that, it's like, what kind of sorcery is this? Like, how are you doing this? How are you putting half of my brain to sleep?
Yeah, it's very strange. Um, I think you said you had focal epilepsy, correct?
Yes.
That's. I was just gonna ask you what kind of epilepsy do you have? Straightforward question. Um, and where are your seizures located?
So the source of my seizures was located in I might be missaying it, but it's like the superior temporal gyrus or whatever like that. and it's the part of the brain in the temporal lobe that focuses on auditory processing, which is why I would hear like that sequence of sound, and then all of a sudden I would have like an episode.
That'll trip me out.
So it really explained that a lot.
It is really weird, like how like my seizures I think are located in they're in my frontal cortex, but they're in my motor slash speech area. So the resection was like very they're like, oh maybe, maybe not. But the doctors were very hesitant. So I didn't do that. I got the device put in and it's trippy. They were like, it might work, but your hand might be crippled the rest of your life. I'm like, well, no.
Yeah,
No thanks, doc.
it's a whole thing when it comes to brain surgery, and it's understanding why you have to do all these tests because they want to make sure that if they touch any part of this brain that nothing bad happens. Like with the WADA test, like, that's when they're testing like which side of your, brain is like the I don't know if I'd say dominant, but it has like the motor skills and like, speech and all that stuff
Mhm.
because they want to make sure that, they want to make sure what they're dealing with or like how, like what could possibly go wrong. And it's understanding, honestly.
Yeah, and understandable, but it's a rough process to go through.
It is. It honestly is. I would say, physically and mentally, it's a tough process. But there's a huge benefit at the end,
Yeah.
depending on your case, obviously.
Yeah, case to case is very different. Wildly different from what I've learned. So how frequent were your seizures prior to surgery?
Frequently they were 1 to 2 seizures a month. Typically they would happen. I would say, yeah, they would just happen 1 to 2 times a month. Sometimes three, depending, like if I was going through some certain situations or whatever like that. But
Hmm. And that was before surgery?
yeah, that was before surgery.
Okay. It's kind of cray cray. Oh, KTG just pop back in. I think I just ran through all the questions I had to ask you. Um, editing abroad, do you have anything that like you want to add or like say to someone who has seizures, like who's new to it?
Honestly, the thing I will say is, You know, when it's the very beginning, when you're newly diagnosed, it is scary, and it's understanding that it's scary. But you know, obviously follow what your neurologist says. Never, uh, always do what the doctor says. That's my honest thing because it's even funny for me because like when with my neurologist when I first met him, God, did I hate him so much. But, but not, like, in a hateful way. Actually, no, it wasn't me that hated him, it was my mom, I remember that, oh my gosh. Um, but afterwards, like, like, everyone's, like, all on the same page and understanding because we all have they all have the same goal on, on whether it is to, be reducing your seizures or having them go away completely. So,
Yeah. Yeah. Being I guess you could say faithful slash trusting in your doctor is definitely key to getting anywhere. Otherwise, just ignoring it, nothing's gonna
either just
work.
ignore either just ignoring or doing, like, the complete opposite thing is, it could lead to who knows what. I know, like, it's a tough it's a like, for me, it was a very tough journey, obviously, I had a lot of bumps in the roads, I had a lot of stuff I was dealing with, but, the one thing and it's like, I feel like this is, like, the number one, like, rule on the page, you know, just remain positive, you know remain positive and just keep going, like, don't stop.
Yeah. I mean, it's kind of hard for anyone to wrap their head around, but it's like staying positive and going through just epilepsy in general is very difficult to do. Like a lot of people don't fully I made a video on this saying you don't understand epilepsy unless you have it.
Mhm.
And people are like, "What? What?" You just don't. It affects you
Yeah.
in so many more ways than just, hitting the ground.
Yeah, it's actually crazy though because just like how I mentioned about the summer camp earlier, um there we have people who volunteer who don't even have seizures, and they know exactly like when how to trigger, like, I mean, not trigger, sorry, they know exactly how to react like when seeing someone with with having a seizure or having an episode.
Yeah, that's good. Good that
Yeah.
they're
And
present.
I just feel when it comes to epilepsy, like it needs to be like, you know people need to be more informed on what it is and what to do, should they see someone having one. Because, just like what they say, like one out of every 26 people are going to have a seizure once in their life.
Yeah,
And I feel like that number always, like, that ratio always runs in my head. One out of 26.
I think it's 1 in 20 are officially diagnosed with epilepsy. So the 26 numbers, yeah,
Oh,
from what I read last. And
so it's even more smaller now. That's
yeah,
crazy.
people are like, "Oh, I don't know. I'll never have a seizure. I don't need to worry about this." You might, buddy. An interesting question. I was just looking at the Pixie's interview. Does caffeine affect you at all in your epilepsy?
No, because I'm an avid coffee drinker. I love coffee. Coffee is the love of my life. It will never, never affect me. No, I'm just like honestly like I can understand like how caffeine could, affect someone with episodes. Um, but for me it never did. I just love coffee.
Fair enough. So do I. I've finished my cold brew with 225 milligrams caffeine in it.
Oh man, what I would do for a cold brew right now.
And ironically enough, caffeine is like, it's not good for me, but it doesn't like fully trigger a seizure. And when I was talking to Pixie, she's her chat is very interesting. She says she drinks like 6 Red Bulls a day. I'm like, what? So that's why I had to pose that question to you.
Oh no, of course.
And last but not least is what is your craziest seizure moment?
So hear me out. There was this one time I was dating this chick, and it was getting to the point that I wanted to like I felt like we should end things. And so we were out, we were gonna go watch a movie or whatever like that. And uh what happened was like because of the buildup of like the anxiety, I ended up having an episode. At first I was like, like I wanted to talk to you about something, and then bam, episode happened out of nowhere. Had no time to react or anything. And then after the episode ended, I immediately got back in that conversation. Like no, no rethinking of like like what happened, like right in the conversation. And it was like, while like right at the episode ended, I was like, I think we should be friends. And I was like, oh shit. And I was like I had like my mouth covered. I was like, oh no, what did I just do?
Just when you popped up from a seizure, just I think we should be friends.
No, no, no. And the worst part though was that we were at the movies. This was like right before the movie even started, and I'm like there, like my face is red, like oh fuck, I did this so bad. Oh my god. Oh no. Like
Should have been coffee, something simple.
it was too late for coffee. Actually, the ironic part is that we ended up going to a Starbucks right afterwards, and I had to explain the whole thing.
Jeez,
Oh man, was that a disaster?
stay classy.
Oh. I felt like a dick at the Starbucks. I felt like such a dick. I was like, "Oh my god, everyone's giving me this look. I should just go. I can't be here anymore."
Run away.
That was me. I wanted to run away, but I didn't wanna run away without without her mom picking her up. Like, I felt bad. I was like, "Oh, jeez." I would feel even more of a dick if I did that. Oh my god.
Just left her there. That would be harsh, yeah.
Oh, that would be hard. You're right. That would be total, that would be like I know you're gonna put this like total dick at like high level.
Yeah. That'll be a rough way to, end a relationship.
Oh yeah, that would be totally, totally. Oh my god,
So
that was like maybe like one of my worst moments I've ever had while having an episode.
jeez.
Yeah, and just total. I'm never gonna forget it.
It is funny when, like, you're trying to say something important or, like, roast somebody and you have a seizure, and you're like, "What the fuck? Can't be a badass right now."
That's the thing though, because like you never know when an episode's about to happen. Like some people have those, like you know that I forgot what they I don't know the term that they call them now, but I remember we used to call them like drop down seizures that they would like your body would drop immediately.
No, that's me, yeah.
I know those are very, obviously the very dangerous ones because like anything can happen at any moment that you're at. And it's even crazy because like there have been a few that I've known that like, that have been in a bad location when having one and, sadly they passed away. And, obviously because of SUDEP.
Oh, yeah, suit up is I don't even research it because it's spooky, and it's suit up, it can happen to anyone.
It really is, and I even have a friend of mine who, like, her seizures they've gotten very bad to the point that, even, like, it's like when it comes to SUDEP, it's a very tough thing, it honestly is, and I feel SUDEP is something that should be more focused on, in my opinion.
Oh, I mean, yeah, definitely, but it's like, I don't know how much research has gone into suit up, but, more should. And it's like, what do you do? What are you researching? Like, is there a short circuit in the brain after, postmortem? It's like, it's it's a tough one to think about.
Yeah, it's like when people hear SUDEP, they're like, "What is it?" And then it's just tough to explain because then they're like, well, then how do you pass? Like, we don't know. It's something that needs to be more like researched on, in my opinion, because I feel there's just not enough research on it.
Yeah,
Sure we know a bunch about like epilepsy and like, like if we compare from like now from, let's say like 10 years ago, but SUDEP is still something that's still, I feel it's like left on that, on that list of stuff to like, learn more about.
yeah, get to. It's the to-do list.
I think the death rate is like 1 in 100 or 150 for unregulated, uncontrolled epilepsy when the medication doesn't help for you for
Uh,
SUDEP.
yeah, I mean, like I said, I try not to look into the numbers because it just
Yeah,
makes you be like,
I
oh
think
shit.
it's like, and I totally don't blame you because the numbers couldn't obviously they scare you.
Yeah.
The numbers are scary.
I don't. What is it? Is sudden unexplained death in epilepsy patients? Is that what it stands for?
Yeah, sudden unexplained death on epilepsy.
It's like, oof. I'll just do my best to treat what I got. You know, it's all you could. It's all you could do.
Pretty much, yeah. Like for me, like, even though I've had, and this is actually something else to add, like even though I've had my, I haven't had a seizure in 6 years, and even though I haven't I've been totally fine and I have had like no symptoms or anything, you know, uh I still check in with my neurologist, I still check in with, my surgeon just to make sure everything's all good.
Yeah.
And, because, even though like I've had like the, even though I've had the surgery and everything's like, been all fine and dandy, it's still not over. There's still more to it before getting to that point of like, are my seizures gone for good?
Yeah, I mean they call it a epilepsy journey for a reason. It's not like one and done. Hopefully it is, but you never know.
No, exactly.
So that's
I
a
actually don't, to be
adventure.
honest. I also got another story for you, actually.
Fair enough.
So, when I was first diagnosed, we needed a way to log my seizures because I was having so many of them. And so my mom came up with like this weird like graph method of tracking my seizures. And the thing was, it was like a big black binder,
Jeez.
and it would be full like all the time. Like it was like, the thing was like 5 pounds heavy.
One of them.
And it ended up being so big and so heavy. You know what we called it?
What?
We called it the Bible. That's how big it was. It was that
Nice.
heavy.
And that's when your seizures were obviously not under control with this surgery, right?
Yeah, this was like when I was like first diagnosed. And it was even crazy because even even the doctors, when we would be in the hospital, and obviously if they wanted to like look at it, they wouldn't call it the journal, they wouldn't call it the log, they also called it the Bible. Everyone in the hospital called it the Bible because they would see my mom walking with it all the time.
Jeez. That's like a funny and horrible to hear at the same time.
Yeah, no, and it's like it's understanding of it because again, the thing was so big. And ironically, we still have it.
Hey, hey.
We haven't gotten rid of it. The Bible's still here.
Is it ever gonna go away?
No, it's not. To be honest, like I felt the thing was so iconic that like we still have to keep it. We've thought about getting rid of it because like again, it's like, like 10 years of seizure logs that no longer we really need, but it's still something like every time I look to it I'm like, man, we still got the Bible.
So I am curious, like, do you ever have any kind of like symptoms or auras after your surgery, being 6 years seizure free? Free?
Honestly, no. I will say though, after the surgery, it kind of my auditory processing kind of it took a bit to heal because again, like, when they do touch your brain, there's gonna be something like, for instance, like slurred speech or taking time to process things. It took like a couple of months for that to heal, not like a crazy amount, like let's say like 2 to 3 months.
Oh, to fully like recover your auditory senses?
Yeah, like, because sometimes, like, I would misinterpret things or, let's say, I would like my speech would be, like, a bit slurred in a way.
Yeah, that's pretty impressive.
So, it kinda took a couple of months for that, but, after the surgery, I actually did a couple neuropsych tests to make sure how things were, and we do it, like, every, like, 6 months just to check on my, progress, and the thing that we noticed is that, how do I call it? My memory got better, and then and then the processing has actually gotten better too. So
Right. So it improved
yeah,
post-op.
yeah, that was post op. Yeah,
Oh, that's I guess when you don't have, like your neurons firing off back to back, there's room for improvement.
pretty much. Yeah,
I was talking about this to K2, red light therapy, because like apparently when you have a seizure, you damage your neurons and or kill them when you have a bunch back to back, like status epilepticus. Epilepticus.
that's the one thing that scared me the most. I feel about epilepsy.
Oh,
And with the research with SUDEP, they see that as one of the leading causes.
Oh wow.
Those exhausted cells, and then with this, that's why when you have the seizures more often, it's a lot more likely that because those stressed ones, they keep getting stressed, they're not able to repair, and then death in that brain area
Yeah, that's
happens.
That's yeah. I know when I was a child, when I first had seizures and I learned that like that was what really scared me a lot because for me having constant like seizures, I was always afraid like is one of these seizures going to mess up my brain and then I'm going to be like in like a vegetative state. Like and again, this was me like before like really knowing epilepsy.
Yeah.
So, there was just a lot. I feel like at that time was when I had a lot of thoughts like, like what's going to happen to me in the future.
Yeah, apparently, red light therapy is like very effective for like what it should say, like healing slash
It,
recovering brain
it's a
cells
neuroprotective as well
and it's protective.
for those neurons. So it can not only will it help your brain cells heal faster, but it will also give them a little bit of a defense for future seizures.
Hmm. That is
Defense,
interesting.
defense. Yeah, I mean, just the fact that it's red light is amazing. Like it's a near infrared light. That's one of the wavelengths, and it's it's like it's red light. How's this doing such good? Like so, but if
So is it basically just you're looking at a red light? It's
y-
No.
you don't want to stare at it, but yeah, you the light is making contact with your body and or so like your skull in this instance. That's what I do. I spend like 5 minutes to 10 minutes in front of it, standing away from it because it's like blinding. It came with like little like tanning goggles because it's intense. It's a very intense light. Um, yeah.
So looking at the light, it does do things with your body. When your eyes get those signals, they give your brain a different type of message, so it can regulate certain hormones and stuff like that. And that's where SAD comes from with a seasonal disorder, where you don't get enough of that red light. Um, and then that's why you have the full spectrum lights and whatnot, and you can kind of stay away from the UV damaging. With red light, though, your body also takes it in with its skin. That's how it makes vitamin D3 when you want to make sure you get like 10-15 minutes of sunlight because it turns the cholesterol in your blood in your body into that vitamin D3, and it can't do that without sunlight. Or you can take pills, but it's not as effective. And it also helps your brain with a lot of processes. They have essentially, um, it tests how much light it's receiving, and they tried it on cadavers where they essentially put the light collecting thing, and they saw that your skull will actually let sunlight in. So it's not like it just blocks off the sunlight, and the cranium specifically, it almost has holes that act like lenses that actually help that light get deeper into your brain. So the red light that he's losing actually goes, it doesn't go all the way in because it's not invasive, it's only on the outside, but it gets 2 to 3 centimeters on the outside of the brain,
And luckily
which,
enough, I just have uh topical, what you call topical epilepsy. So like, it's not that's not what it's called, but like my epilepsy center is on just the surface of my brain. So
Oh, okay.
see if that does anything for me. Yeah.
That is very interesting. I know I
as
never learned about red light therapy at all from my neurologist. So this is a whole new first time ever hearing about this.
A lot.
I was
Yeah, go, you go.
I was really excited because I got into it and I started reading all of the lectures and the studies, and my doctor is also a neurologist, so I brought it up to her, and excitingly enough, like my 15 appointment ended up turning into a 45-minute appointment because she got all excited about it too. So we had like a really long conversation about it.
Hmm.
So I was pretty happy about it.
I'm definitely gonna bring it up to my next neurologist appointment.
But I'm gonna send you studies, and it's very evidence based. They're going through a lot of clinical trials right now, so they're not only seeing like uses for epilepsy. Ooh, It's also pain blocking. So, like, people who are doing, spine surgeries right now, instead of taking, lidocaine, lidocaine when they do spine surgery, which is like a painkiller medication, some people can't take certain medications, they have side effects. They can actually lose red light, and this one is a little bit invasive. They have, like, a needle and, like, a really bright light at the end of that needle
Ooh.
to kind of target it because it's a little bit deeper in the skin and it can only go through so much. So they target it, but it's just as effective. That 15 minutes of that red light laser is just as effective as that heavy duty painkiller,
What?
and it has no side effects.
That's actually wild. I didn't read that
Um,
one.
and it was on that lecture where she kind of that 4-year-old lecture, like she kind of went over it, and they've been doing a lot more of the pain blocking with the red light for that. Uh, they also, I don't know, I lost my train of thought. Sorry.
I don't know. That was a good red light uh introduction to red light. There we go. Brought to you by KT Little.
Oh, they're also losing it for depression. They're trying cranium red light therapy. They're also trying Parkinson's because Parkinson's is also a neurodegenerative disease. So they're having a lot of success with kind of slowing Parkinson's down and having your brain be at the top that it can. But I'm going to send in studies now.
Got that lanky poo.
That is interesting.
But yeah, just like plants, our body is so reliant on sunlight, and even you see that people are doing like the blocking blue light because depending on the wavelengths, it also affects your circadian rhythm. So you see blue light blocking, and like you can get blue lights, and it can kill. You can use it for acne stuff. You can use it for fungal stuff. But it's a lot closer to UV, so you have to be a lot more careful with it because it can end up doing damage. But you also see it. Dermatologists use blue light and a photosensitizer on your skin to treat precancerous lesions. I think they're called acute keratosis, and which, if you left alone, has a chance to turn into cancer.
Oh
But you
geez.
can treat them and get rid of them with the photosensitizer and the blue light, and it takes like a half an hour, and you can get rid of whatever the lesions are.
I
Uh,
was actually like
that's
I was curious when I was at my hairstylist last. She had like a bunch of red lights surrounding like a little chair, and it looked like some sci-fi contraption. And I'm like, what is this? And she's like, oh, like whenever the girls are like getting their hair dyed or whatever, they sit here and get red light treatment, and
yeah,
and it's good for growing hair apparently. It's like
it
what?
is. It's just as
What?
effective, and it can make minoxidil more effective. They figured that out by they had a bunch of lab rats, and they were doing a different experiment, and some of the lab rats were under red light, and when they saved off the lab rats, they noticed the ones under the red light, not only did the hair grow back incredibly fast, but it grew back thicker and it changed texture and stuff. But the other ones, it really wasn't growing back that.
So if I shave my head, it'll grow back faster under red light.
You don't even have to save your head. You can just use the red light regardless.
I've always wanted to go bald. See what it's like. Um, that's pretty solid. That's like going on 50 minutes right now. If you wanna throw an outro, some links, I'll put your link in a button in the little description I'll have
Oh, of
for like your
course.
Twitch and stuff or your podcast. If you want to shout that out,
Yeah, pretty much. So y'all can follow me on Twitch at Coolboy_NY, and I do a podcast. Sorry, y'all can follow me also on Insta, same as well, Coolboy_NY. And y'all can follow me. Well, actually, no. Y'all can. I do a podcast called The Talkative Epileptic that we actually talk about many different topics. It's just you're dealing with a talkative epileptic, and that's me. Um, you can find this at Spotify and also on Apple and Google and iHeart podcasts. So,
Cool. I mean, anything else? Do you want to add?
uh,
I think we hit a lot of topics.
oh, actually, no, I do got one thing to add.
Okay.
Pineapple does belong on pizza.
Oh God, it's blasphemous.
Okay.
How dare you? All right. With that blasphemy being said, bring it to an end. Thanks for the whole all the information.
Oh, thank you for the opportunity. I really appreciate it, and I'll definitely what's it called? The door is open for you if you want to do an episode on the Talking Epileptic.
Oh, no, definitely, that would be very cool. Yeah, I'm always interested to see someone's experience with epilepsy. It's always mind-blowingly different. It's astonishing to me, honestly.
Oh no, of course. That's the thing though, because like again, and I say this all the time, when it comes to epilepsy, everyone's story is unique in a way
Yeah, very, very much so.
because there's no such thing as an identical story when it comes with epilepsy.
Yeah, it's like they know what focal is, and you might have focal. So do millions of other people, but it's not the same. Which I
Yeah.
find interesting. Like you have focal seizures, but you have focal absence seizure types. Whereas I just lock up and hit the ground, but my seizures are always localized to that same area. It's like I don't know. All right, I'm gonna end this before we keep on going. We'll be talking all day.